твоей новой жизни. Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сумел знать себя? Познать границы своих возможностей? К черту границы! А без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле, главный враг — это задача выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он.
It begins in California, with a little girl raised by two moms. I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. To marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class, and after meeting with an Army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength. I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord, and I answered my call.
Wow, yeah, one of those advertisements was for the Russian military, the other one was for the American military. Can you tell which one was which? Welcome back, extra beautiful, extra amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of We Are Change.org. A lot of absolutely nonsense news to get into today. Not just, of course, talking about the latest woke ideology, but the now very surprising announcement by Dr. Fauci that surprisingly is arguing my body, my choice. A lot of things to unpack there, specifically with this issue, and now allegedly a new variant that spreads through dogs. Atlas, what do you think about that? That's some bull crap. Are you freaking... What? That's some freaking bull crap. I'm so happy she was able to watch her language there. But in related news to the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast, we have new statements from Russian President Vladimir Putin announcing that, quote, he will knock the teeth out of any foreign enemy that decides to encroach on Russian territory. These are, of course, very heated statements right before a major summit that is supposed to happen between the United States and Russia called the Arctic Summit, named after a region where the Russian military is expanding its military forces. While here in the United States, we have LGBTQ plus non-binary genderless Legos. Nope, I'm not kidding you. Genderless, faceless Legos that are titled Everyone is Awesome are being released in the United States, as well as other disturbing products for small children meant to make them feel transgendered. Yes, I think it's safe to say that culturally we are reaching a new level of absurdity that is as mind-boggling as it is confusing to understand. And as the woke Olympics continue in U.S. mainstream society, trying to get the most attention for being the wokest, which is being propelled by the political and media class, our cities in the United States are absolutely being eviscerated into abject poverty and decrepitness, as perfectly represented by the larger urban decay that is unfolding all throughout the United States in major cities. The specific images that you're seeing right now are from Venice Beach, and in other places like Chicago, the city has had to introduce 1,000 wild cats to deal with the increased influx of rats that the city has to deal with. A city where, of course, violent crime is growing and expanding, just like most cities all throughout the United States, but more so than ever in Chicago, where the list of atrocities keeps growing by the day, and its rat-infested, ever-so-violent city mayor is choosing to focus on the promotion of woke ideology, pushing race-based, divisive, racist policies, rather than, of course, actually deal with any of the very legitimate, serious problems that that city is facing. As, of course, we have the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, announcing that she will be only granting interviews to black or brown journalists, swearing to refuse to interact with other people because of their skin color, essentially denying them the ability to work because of the way that they were born. Out of all the problems that the people of Chicago face, this is the policy that the mayor wants to enforce. That's ridiculous, absolutely backwards, and totally racist. And in related woke women figures that push the divide and conquer agenda, we of course have the latest announcement from Kamala Harris that has just broken her campaign promise by recently deciding to keep her assets hidden in a tax-protected trust. Trust assets that, of course, are not reported, so there's very little transparency, very little accountability accountability to the millions of dollars that her and her husband got, which shows you how absolutely hypocritical. This highlights, of course, how hypocritical some of the wokest amongst us could be, and in related hypocrisy amongst the woke crowd news, we of course have this latest example of absolute hypocrisy as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is photographed parking illegally her Tesla at Whole Foods. Two companies, of course, that she very loudly, vocally opposes, but privately consumes and chooses to support by doing business with them. Now, as AOC chooses to give her money to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, another billionaire is also in the news after a very big public divorce, which is making him get rid of a lot of his shares that he has in the stock market. It's also important to note here that other billionaires like Musk and Bezos have been making moves away from the stock market as well, along with a lot of other big multinational corporations, which many people fear could be a signal towards a larger market crash. Now, as we know, there's been a lot of news about Bitcoin and how unstable of a currency it is, but I think it's also important to remind everyone that 25% of all US dollar ever created were created within the last 6 months. There's over $27 trillion in circulation that we just even know of, as the Federal Reserve literally has an unlimited market supply of dollars that they press zero on a computer screen on, producing at any whim that they choose to do so. So you should definitely start thinking critically about your financial future and the financial future of the United States. We talked about that topic extensively yesterday on LukeUncensored.com, where I gave my personal perspective about what's going on. I'm going to be doing another video today about a topic that I cannot discuss here on this platform. There's a lot of shocking, crazy news. We're going to get into it in just a little bit. We're going to tell you the latest news about Dr. Fauci in just a little bit, but before we do, don't forget to check out our shirt store, where, very conveniently, you could also get shirts that say normalize critical thinking. This is a new shirt that we launched. We have a lot more available for you on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We have an assortment of shirts that are bound to get you in trouble. Some of them we can't even show you here. Scroll through the large selection we have. You definitely won't regret doing so. You probably will get a laugh out of it. And we just started to post people's photos specifically down below. So if you want to see yourself there and you bought some of our previous merchandise, don't forget to email your picture to info@wearechange.org. Yes, we're actually checking emails now. If you have some photos that you want on the website, send them to us right now. We'll put you down below. And it's pretty amazing seeing everyone participating in this. Now, just jumping into our main topic. Again, I have so much to say about this. Can't say a lot. Most of it will be on LukeUncensored.com. And today, a lot of people are shocked by the statements just made by Dr. Fauci that made the very principled argument, my body, my choice, when it comes to a medical procedure that the establishment has been trying to force on everyone. And again, there's a lot of reasons why forcing it on everyone is a mistake. We're going to be talking about that, LukeUncensored.com. But when it comes to this statement, I have to say that I absolutely agree with Dr. Fauci. The YouTube moderators, are you listening to this? I have no reason to disagree with Dr. Fauci here. I agree with him on this particular statement, and I think he makes a very valid argument, especially with all the circumstantial evidence that we already have that is very important for people to consider, especially with their own personal health when it comes to this medical procedure. They should, of course, talk to their medical professionals. Dr. Fauci said specifically that a mandatory medical passport would discriminate against people by forcing them to get this medical procedure. This, of course, after he was pressed by Chris Cuomo, who said that we absolutely need a medical passport. By the way, this is the same news anchor that attacks and rails against voter ID, but openly tells everyone that a medical passport is something that is, quote, common sense to him and should be instituted immediately, without question, where even Dr. Fauci has to push back against him, saying that this administration will not be doing so, while, of course, other states and private institutions are choosing to implement whatever medical passports that they choose to. But again, The laws here, especially with HIPAA in the United States, are very clear. Now, even though Chris Cuomo is dismayed that the government is not taking the latest track tracing, databasing, and spying method on its population, we also have to understand that this idea of a medical passport has some very serious privacy and civil rights concerns, especially with the current situation that many people are under. And seeing Dr. Fauci push back against Chris Cuomo, who's demanding more government, more totalitarianism, more control over every aspect of our life by Big Brother, is, I'll tell you now, shocking. I didn't expect this from Dr. Fauci, but I could finally say that I actually agreed with him. Now, another thing to really kind of consider here is the fact that Dr. Fauci has made a lot of duplicitous statements throughout this entire saga, especially starting last year, especially dealing with masks, lockdowns, recommendations. A lot of it seems made up since a lot of it is not declared by actual scientific studies, and most of it is contradicted within a few days. So will Dr. Fauci contradict himself here? Well, we're going to find out. I sure hope not, because this is the one time that I think he got it right. Dr. Fauci has also noticeably been acting totally different after his encounter with U.S. Senator Rand Paul, where Rand Paul directly asked Dr. Fauci who was the person that personally approved funding to go to the level 3 Wuhan laboratory where they were doing specific research on this type of sickness and bats that they abruptly ended in 2019 after many U.S. diplomatic cables warned that the facility was conducting very dangerous procedures in unsafe conditions. Now, when Dr. Rand Paul asked Dr. Fauci specifically about this, Dr. Fauci said that he never did this. That is absolutely not true. Dr. Fauci lied to Congress. This is a very serious crime, which, of course, Roger Stone previously paid the ultimate price for, as he had FBI agents storm his house in the middle of the night, arrest him, and then he was convicted by a judge for this same crime, sentenced to spend almost the end of his life in jail until he was pardoned by Donald Trump. But this is a serious crime. You can't just lie to Congress and get away with it. Roger Stone knows this. So will Dr. Fauci get FBI agents in the middle of the night storming his house? Will he face criminal charges just like previous people before him did? Well, personally, I highly doubt that. If we were following the rule of law equally and not just going after specific people who believe in different political ideas, I believe the picture would be different. But obviously, party politics plays a big role here. But why is Dr. Fauci now coming out? This is another question that we have to ask ourselves, and saying that not everyone should take this medical procedure that CNN wants to make mandatory. And we're going to have to talk about this very vaguely and quickly. But according to Locke Montagnard, a French virologist and Nobel Peace Prize winner, he's talking about how this medical procedure could also be creating variants of the sickness, could be mutating it and creating new versions of it that human beings will have a harder time dealing with. And now, according to epidemiologists from Duke University, they are coming out and saying that there is a new variant of this sickness, a mutation of it, that is in dogs and spreading it to human beings. Again, these are just preliminary findings and data. As we know, we've been hearing about different news surrounding the variants and mutations for over close to a year now. We've been hearing about that. This doesn't mean people should panic. This doesn't mean that we should be in fear. This doesn't mean we should give up all of our rights to the federal government. This doesn't mean we should blindly acquiesce to the whims of whatever the mainstream media tells us to do. Stop, control your emotions, and learn to think critically. When you start doing so, you really get a true different perspective than what the mainstream media wants you to believe. That's what I aspire for you to see with this broadcast. And if I did that in any way, shape, or form, click the like button, share this video with your friends, family members, strangers. It means the world to me. You see someone having a conversation that's very heated, that isn't even on topic, doesn't have anything to do with this on Facebook or Twitter, send them this video to calm them down, to confuse them a little bit so they stop fighting each other, stop pushing the larger divide and conquer narrative that's ripping American people to shreds, and help them, provide them some information that they might not usually get that could give them a totally different perspective. And because you guys do that, that's why I'm still here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on LukeUncensored.com. We are change.org. I always get it confused. Stay tuned for more. We got a lot more coming here.